Where do you think you're going? You'll embarrass me in front of the whole company with that face of yours. Other men have beautiful wives, and I'm stuck with disgrace, my husband declared when I suggested going with him to his office party. That's when I decided I'd go to his corporate party behind his back. But when my husband and the guests at the party saw me, I was standing in front of the mirror in our bedroom, holding my favorite dress. Dark green, it always brought out my eyes and made my figure look slimmer. Andrew was sitting on the bed scrolling through his phone, and I thought this was the perfect moment. Andrew, your company's party is tomorrow. I was thinking of wearing this dress. What do you think? I asked, turning to him and holding the dress against me. He lifted his eyes from the screen, and the look he gave me was like he'd just seen something disgusting. His brows furrowed, his lips twisted into a contemptuous smirk. Where do you think you're going? You'll embarrass me in front of the whole company with that face of yours. Other men have beautiful wives, and I'm stuck with disgrace, he snapped, not even bothering to soften his words. The dress slipped from my hands. Something inside me snapped, like a string pulled too tight finally breaking. 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, and this is where we'd ended up, humiliation in my own bedroom. Andrew, how can you say that? My voice shook, but I tried to hold my ground. What did I say? The truth. Look at yourself. You're 42, Marina. You put on weight after the kids, you've got wrinkles, gray hair coming through. And at that party, the partners' wives will be there, young, polished. Elizabeth, Victor's wife, she's 28, used to be a model. Samantha, Dave from sales' wife, she's a fitness trainer. And you? A housewife who sits at home all day. Each word hit harder than a slap. I looked at the man I'd married at 27, full of love and hope. Back then he used to say I was the most beautiful woman in the world. That my brown eyes drove him crazy. That my light brown hair smelled like summer. I'm not just a housewife, Andrew. I raise our kids. I cook, clean, make this house a home. And by the way, I work remotely too. I write articles for magazines, I shot back, the wave of hurt and anger rising inside me. Oh please. That's not work. A couple of little articles a month for pocket change? That's a hobby for bored housewives. Anyway, I've decided. I'm going alone. I'll tell them you're sick. It'll be better for everyone. He got up from the bed and headed into the bathroom, leaving me standing there with a lump in my throat. I picked up the dress from the floor, carefully hung it back in the closet, and sat on the edge of the bed. His words replayed in my head. Disgrace. Embarrass. Old. Ugly. I stood up and walked over to the mirror. I studied my reflection closely. Sure, I didn't look 25 anymore. There were little lines around my eyes, the kind you get from smiling. A few gray hairs, which I usually dyed over. My figure wasn't as slim as before the kids. But did that make me any less? Did that mean I'd stopped being a woman, a person, a human being? Our daughter Daisy, 14, peeked into the bedroom right then. Mom, why do you look so sad? She asked, coming closer. Oh, I'm just a little tired, I lied, not wanting to drag her into our problems. Mom, can I tell you something? Daisy sat next to me on the bed. You're the most beautiful mom ever. Seriously. Yesterday my classmates saw you when you picked me up, and they said I have such a young, pretty mom. Emily didn't even believe you're 42. I hugged my daughter, tears stinging my eyes. Out of the mouths of children, as they say. Daisy went off to do her homework, and I sat there thinking. I remembered how just last week I'd run into my old colleague Irene on the street. She'd gone on and on about how great I looked, said I hadn't changed a bit since we worked together 10 years ago. That evening at dinner, Andrew acted like nothing had happened. He told Michael, our 12-year-old son, all about a soccer game and asked Daisy about her grades. He looked right through me, as if I wasn't even there. When the kids went off to their rooms, we were left alone. Andrew, we need to talk, I began, gathering my courage. Talk about what? I already told you, You're not going to the party. End of discussion. Why do you talk to me like this lately? What did I ever do to you? He set his phone down and gave me a weary look. Marina, you just don't get it. In business, image matters. How you look, how your family looks, it all affects reputation. And you've stopped taking care of yourself. Look at the other wives. They go to the gym, to the spa, keep up with fashion. And you? When was the last time you went to a beauty salon? A month ago. I got my hair cut and a manicure. A month ago. Exactly. Elizabeth is in the salon every week. She's got her own stylist, masseuse, cosmetologist. Elizabeth doesn't have 2 kids to feed, dress, and drive to activities. She's got a housekeeper, a cook, and a driver. And a husband who makes 10 times more than you. There it is. That's what you always do. It's always someone else's fault. The kids get in the way, or there's not enough money. Other women make it work, but you don't. There was no point arguing. Andrew had already decided I wasn't worthy of being seen in his work circle. The humiliation burned, but I refused to cry in front of him. Pride wouldn't let me. I told him I had a headache and went to sleep in the guest room. Lying in the dark, I thought about how much my husband had changed in recent years. When he got promoted and became deputy director of a big construction firm, something in him broke. Arrogance appeared, along with contempt for those he saw as beneath him, including me. I remembered our early years together. We'd met at a mutual friend's birthday. Andrew was just starting out as a manager. I was an editor at a publishing house. We were young, in love, happy. We rented a tiny 1-bedroom on the edge of Denver, counted every dollar, but we were happy. He used to bring me wildflowers he picked on his way home from work. He'd write funny notes and hide them in my bag so I'd find them at work and smile. We could walk for hours in the park, holding hands and dreaming about the future, our house, our kids, our travels. Then Daisy was born. It was a tough pregnancy, and it took me a long time to recover. I had to quit my job to stay home with the baby. Andrew supported me then, told me I was amazing, that I was doing great. 2 years later, Michael was born. Again, a hard delivery, a long recovery. By then, Andrew's career was taking off. First head of department, then deputy director of development. With every promotion, he drifted farther away from me. The expensive suits, the watches, the fancy car. And the new circle of friends, or rather, useful contacts. Successful businessmen with young, beautiful wives. I tried to keep up. I started taking better care of myself whenever I could. But with 2 kids, a house, and no help, it wasn't easy. And Andrew didn't want to hire anyone. He said it was a waste of money, that since I stayed home, I could handle it. The next morning, Thursday, I dropped the kids off at school and sat down at my computer. I had to finish an article on modern interior design trends. But my thoughts kept circling back to last night's conversation. To the party happening Friday night. And then it hit me. What if? What if I actually went to that corporate party? But not as Andrew Walker's wife, just as a guest. An anonymous one. I'd take a look at all those glamorous wives, see my husband in his element. And I'd prove to him that I'm not some disgrace, but a woman who can look every bit as good as the rest. The plan started taking shape in my mind. First, I had to get myself in order, radically. Second, I needed to find a way into the party. Third, I had to come up with a cover story so no one would recognize me right away. I called my friend Linda. We'd been close since college, and she'd always had my back. Linda, I need your help. Urgently, I said as soon as she picked up. Marina? What's going on? You sound worked up. Can you meet today? I need your advice and your help with something. Of course. Come by my office. We'll talk at lunch. Linda was an art director at an ad agency. Always stylish, confident, the total opposite of me in recent years. But she never looked down on me, never lectured me about life. She was just there when I needed her. I showed up at her office. The modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows, designer furniture, and a buzzing creative vibe was worlds apart from my little domestic bubble. "Marin, have you lost weight?" Linda said, hugging me. "And you've got that determined look. What's up?" I told her everything, Andrew's words, the party, my plan. Linda listened without interrupting, tapping her pen against the desk thoughtfully once I finished. "You know what, girl? I'll help you. And not just with advice. I've got a better idea. My company works with your husband's construction firm. We're handling their ad campaign. I can get you into the party as our agency's rep." "But how? Won't someone recognize me?" "They won't. Trust me. Let's head to my place. I've got a whole arsenal there. We'll turn you into such a stunner your own husband won't recognize you. And tomorrow morning, we'll take it to the next level, professionally." "Linda, I don't know. That feels like lying." "It's not lying, it's a lesson. Your husband needs to see what he's losing. And besides, why should you be stuck at home while everyone else is having fun? You have every right to show up wherever you want." We spent the rest of the day at Linda's place. She pulled out a few dresses she swore would look perfect on me. We picked out outfits, makeup, hairstyles. Linda even called her hairstylist and booked me an appointment for the next morning. "Hey, do you have contact lenses?" she suddenly asked. "No, why?" "We'll change your eye color. Your brown eyes are gorgeous, but let's try gray or green. It'll transform your look completely." That evening I went home in high spirits. The kids noticed right away. "Mom, you seem really happy today," Michael said at dinner. "I just nailed an article," I smiled. Andrew came home late, as usual lately. Ate in silence and went straight to his study. Before bed he poked his head into the bedroom. "Marin, the party's tomorrow. I'll go straight from work and be back late. Don't wait up." "All right," I answered calmly. "And don't you dare call or show up. I told everyone you're sick." "I won't, don't worry." He gave a satisfied nod and left. I lay there smiling in the dark. If only he knew. Friday morning started early. I sent the kids off to school, telling them I'd be late that night so they should have dinner on their own. Then I headed to the salon Linda had booked. The stylist, a young guy with ash blonde dyed hair, gave me a critical once-over. "Okay, here's what we've got. Light brown hair, good texture, but that cut is dated. We're doing a modern angled bob, add highlights, give it volume. Sound good?" I nodded. 3 hours in the chair flew by. When he spun me toward the mirror, I barely recognized myself. My hair was lighter with shimmering tones, the cut refreshed my face and made me look younger. Then came the makeup. Linda's friend, a makeup artist, worked her magic for another hour. Professional makeup was like witchcraft. My eyes popped, my cheekbones looked sharper, my lips fuller. "And now, the lenses," Linda said, handing me a box. "Gray-green. They'll make a statement." I'd never worn lenses before, so it felt odd at first. But when I looked in the mirror, I gasped. It was me, but not me. The new eye color completely transformed my look. "Now the dress," Linda said, pulling a black cocktail dress from a garment bag. "Designer piece, gifted to me for a project. Too big for me, but it'll be perfect on you." It fit like a dream. Form-fitting but classy, knee-length, with a daring cut in the back. Paired with high heels I hadn't touched in 5 years, the look was absolutely stunning. "Marina, my God, you look like $1,000,000. Linda exclaimed. "Your husband's an idiot if he doesn't value a woman like this. What if he recognizes me?" "He won't. You've changed too much. Plus, he won't be expecting you there. And psychologically, people rarely notice what they don't expect. Still, steer clear of him at first. Mingle with other guests, make an impression. Then we'll see." Linda handed me some business cards from her agency and a backstory. I'd be Marina Nicholson, the new client relations manager. Just moved from Seattle, been with the agency for only a week. She even called a couple of her employees who'd be at the party to let them know about me. Ethan and Christina are in the loop. They'll back you up if needed. Ethan's a pro at improvising, you'll be fine. By 6 in the evening, I was ready. Linda drove me to the restaurant where the party was being held. A big place downtown, fancy interior, the parking lot out front packed with luxury cars. Remember, you're a confident businesswoman. You're fearless, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just walk in and enjoy yourself. And text me with updates. I took a deep breath and stepped out of the car. At the entrance, the security guard checked the guest list. The name Nicholson was there. Linda had taken care of everything. The coat check girl took my coat, and I walked into the main hall. The first thing that hit me was the luxury. Crystal chandeliers, fresh flowers everywhere, waiters in flawless uniforms. There were already at least 150 guests. I took a glass of champagne from a tray and glanced around. I spotted Andrew almost immediately. He was standing with a group of men near the stage, talking animatedly, gesturing as he spoke. He looked confident, almost commanding. His expensive suit fit perfectly, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Next to him stood his boss, Victor, a distinguished man of about 55, and a few other top executives. I turned away and headed to the opposite side of the hall. I needed to find Ethan and Christina from the ad agency. Marina? I heard a man's voice behind me. Turning, I saw a tall, dark-haired man in his mid-30s with an open smile and kind eyes. Ethan Peterson. I work with Linda. She told me you'd be coming. Nice to meet you. Likewise. Thank you for agreeing to help. No need to thank me. Linda told me your story. I admire your courage. And you look amazing, if I may say so. The compliment made me blush. I hadn't heard words like that from a man in a very long time. Come on, let me introduce you to a few people. We need to make it look like you really are from our agency. The next hour passed in introductions and small talk. Ethan was a fantastic companion. He could carry a conversation on any topic and subtly guided things along whenever I hesitated. We talked about ad campaigns, marketing strategies, the latest trends in digital marketing. Little by little, I relaxed and felt more confident. Several men clearly showed interest in me, invited me to dance when the music started, offered champagne. I politely declined the dancing, blaming jet lag from Seattle, but kept the conversations going. Then I noticed Andrew watching me. He was standing at the bar, openly staring. There was interest in his eyes, even admiration. He didn't recognize me. My own husband was looking at me like I was some attractive stranger. My heart raced. I turned away, pretending not to notice. But a few minutes later, I felt someone approach from behind. Good evening. Allow me to introduce myself, Andrew Walker, Deputy Director of Development. I slowly turned around. He was standing close, smiling that very smile that once won me over, his hand outstretched. Marina Nicholson, Art Design Advertising Agency, I said, keeping my voice steady. Very pleased to meet you. I don't recall seeing you at our events before. I just moved here from Seattle, only recently started working with your company. Seattle? Beautiful city. I go there often for business. What made you move to Denver? Career opportunities. I was offered an interesting project I couldn't turn down. I see. And where are you staying? Have you found a place yet? The questions kept coming. Andrew was clearly intrigued. He was looking at me in a way he hadn't in years, with admiration, eager to impress. For now, I'm renting an apartment downtown, just checking out neighborhoods. I can recommend a good realtor, if you'd like. And really, if you need help settling in, don't hesitate. I'd be happy to help a beautiful woman. A beautiful woman. The very words I hadn't heard from him in so long. Only now they were aimed not at me, his wife, but at a stranger. Thank you, that's very kind of you. So, did you move here alone? Or with family? I could hear the hope in his voice, waiting for me to say I was alone. Alone. I'm not married. Andrew's eyes lit up even brighter. He leaned in, lowered his voice. Then maybe I could invite you to dinner sometime? I'll show you some of the city's best restaurants, tell you about the local scene. I almost burst out laughing. My husband, the man who called me a disgrace and said I wasn't fit to show up at his party, was now asking me out on a date. But I kept my composure. That's very sweet, but I prefer not to mix work and personal life. Fair enough. But the offer stands. Here's my card, he said, handing me a business card. That's my personal number. Call me if you change your mind, or if you just need anything. Just then, Victor walked up with his wife, the very Elizabeth, the ex-model who was the standard I could never meet. Andrew, introduce us to your charming companion, Victor said. This is Marina Nicholson, our new partner from Art Design. Marina, this is Victor, our CEO, and his wife, Elizabeth. I studied Elizabeth carefully. Yes, she was beautiful. Tall, slim, a blonde with perfect features. But her eyes, they were empty, bored. And when she looked at her husband, there was no love, not even affection. Just cold calculation. Very nice to meet you, I said, shaking hands. Marina just moved from Seattle, Andrew added, and I noticed the way he looked at me, proud, almost showing me off. Oh, Seattle. I adore that city. Elizabeth exclaimed. We were there last summer. Stayed at the Four Seasons, went to the opera. Have you ever been to Seattle Opera? Of course. I had a season subscription. That part was true. In my 20s, when I interned at a publishing house in Seattle, I really had bought a season pass. 15 years ago, but Elizabeth didn't need to know that. How interesting. We simply must talk more. I so rarely meet people with good taste. Elizabeth linked her arm through mine. Come on, I'll introduce you to some of the other ladies. Andrew, we'll borrow her for a bit. She led me to a group of women standing near the floor-to-ceiling windows. They were the wives of other top executives. All of them well-groomed, expensively dressed. But the more I talked with them, the more I realized how deeply unhappy they were. Samantha, the fitness trainer, wife of Dave from sales, admitted after her third glass of champagne that her husband was cheating on her with his secretary. Anna, the CFO's wife, confided that she and her husband lived like roommates, each with their own life. Elizabeth casually mentioned that Victor kept a mistress and had rented her an apartment in a luxury complex. Do you have anyone in Seattle? Samantha asked me. I did. But we broke up. That's actually why I moved, wanted a fresh start. Good for you, Anna nodded. Men aren't worth our suffering. Look at you, Marina, you're beautiful, smart, independent. Why do you even need a man? Well, family, kids, I said carefully. Kids? Are you kidding? Elizabeth blurted out. That's the end of a career, the end of a figure, the end of a personal life. I told Victor right away, no kids. If he wants an heir, he can hire a surrogate. I was stunned by their bluntness. These women, the very ones my husband held up as examples for me, were trapped in their golden cages, deeply unhappy. But Andrew Walker is available, Samantha suddenly said, nodding toward my husband. Sure, he's married, but that's just a formality. He's embarrassed by his wife, never takes her anywhere. Says she's a boring housewife who got fat after having kids, only cares about TV shows and cooking. My face burned. So that's what he told people about me. How long have they been married? I asked, forcing myself to sound casual. About 15 years. 2 kids. But he's been wanting to divorce her for a while, only stays because of the kids. Though I heard he's got a mistress, some young thing from accounting, Anna added. A mistress? Andrew? It felt like a punch to the gut. I kept my face neutral, but inside, everything was on fire. Oh, stop gossiping, Elizabeth cut in. Marina, don't listen to them. Andrew's a decent man. And if he does have someone on the side, that's only because he's desperate. His wife doesn't take care of herself at all. I saw her once, picking up the kids from school. Awful. Baggy jeans, an old jacket, no makeup. And that's the wife of a top executive. I remembered that day. Michael had gotten sick, spiked a fever right in class. I rushed to the school in whatever clothes I had on at home. I never thought anyone would be judging me. Maybe she had her reasons for looking that way, I said. What reasons? Laziness and letting herself go. Her husband makes great money, she could put some effort into herself. Instead, she sits at home all day doing who knows what. I gripped my glass so tightly my knuckles went white. These women, who didn't even know me, had already passed judgment based on my husband's words and one random encounter. You know, I think people shouldn't be judged without knowing the full story, I said firmly. Oh, you're kind, Elizabeth smiled. But in our circle, there's no room for pity. Either you measure up, or you step aside. Just then, the official program began. Everyone took their seats. I found mine, and realized I was sitting at the same table as Andrew. He was already there, and when he saw me, his face lit up. What a pleasant surprise, he said, pulling out my chair. Yes, pleasant, I agreed, sitting down. Also at the table were Ethan and Christina from the ad agency, the head of marketing with his wife, and a few others. The speeches and toasts began. Andrew kept trying to draw me into conversation, leaning in to comment on speeches, pouring me wine, treating me like royalty. Couldn't your wife make it tonight? I asked between toasts. He tensed, then waved it off casually. She doesn't like these events. Prefers to stay home. Or maybe you didn't invite her. Why would I? She'd be bored here. She doesn't understand business, can't handle small talk. Besides, he lowered his voice, we've been living like strangers for years. Only the kids keep us together. But you're not divorcing? Not yet. The kids are still young, I don't want to hurt them. But once they're older, I'll definitely divorce. I need a woman who matches my level. Someone smart, beautiful, refined. Someone like, he looked me in the eyes, you, Marina. I almost choked on my wine. My husband, sitting right next to me, saying I wasn't good enough for him, and in the same breath confessing his interest in me, not realizing who I really was. You don't even know me, I pointed out. But I want to. You seem like an incredible woman. Successful, confident. And at the same time, feminine and elegant. Your future husband will be a lucky man. Future husband. While her real husband sat right there, blind to the truth. After the speeches, the music started and the dance floor opened. Andrew asked me to dance. I thought about refusing, but then decided, why not? Let him dance with the wife he thought was beneath him. We stepped onto the dance floor. A slow song came on. Andrew wrapped his arm around my waist and pulled me close. He smelled of expensive cologne and whiskey. His hands were firm, strong. Once upon a time, his touch used to make me melt. You dance beautifully, he whispered in my ear. Thank you. So do you? You know, it's been a long time since I met a woman like you. You're special. I lifted my gaze to him. In the dim light of the dance floor, he almost looked like the young man I once fell in love with. But it was just an illusion. Every woman is special. You just have to know how to see it. Philosophical. But not true. My wife, for example, she's completely ordinary. A gray mouse. Don't speak that way about a woman who gave you children. He looked at me, surprised. You're defending her? You don't even know her. I'm defending all women whose husbands belittle them. Even when they don't realize they're being humiliated. Andrew frowned, but then the music switched to something faster, and the moment slipped away. We returned to the table. Ethan asked me to dance, and I gladly accepted, for a break from my husband's company. So, how does it feel? Ethan asked once we moved away. Strange. I'm finding out things about my husband I never knew in 15 years. Like that he has a mistress. That he tells everyone I'm awful. That he plans to divorce me as soon as the kids grow up. Men often say one thing and do another. Don't take it too much to heart. You know, I really have changed. Not on the outside, inside. Before, I would have cried, blamed myself, suffered. Now I'm angry. And I want to teach him a lesson. Exactly. You're a beautiful, intelligent woman. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. We kept dancing, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw Andrew watching us. His eyes were filled with jealousy. He was jealous of me, his own wife, with another man, not realizing it was me. The evening went on. I met a lot of people, made useful connections. Several men openly flirted, inviting me for coffee, to the theater, to dinner. I politely turned them down, but it felt good to be wanted. Around midnight, I decided it was time to leave. The kids were home alone, and I'd had more than enough emotions for one night. I said goodbye to Ethan and Christina, thanked them for their help, and headed toward the exit. Marina, leaving already? Andrew caught up with me in the lobby. Yes, I'm tired after the flight and my first week at work. Let me give you a ride. Thanks, but no need. I called a cab. Then I'll wait with you. We stepped outside. Denver sparkled with lights in the night. It was chilly, and I shivered. Here, Andrew slipped off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders. It smelled like his cologne. Familiar. I know this might sound pushy, but I really want to see you again. Not for work, just us. Maybe dinner? I looked at him. My husband, the father of my children, the man I'd lived with for 15 years, stood there not recognizing me. Asking me out like I was a stranger. Wanting to cheat on me, with me. Andrew, don't you have a family? My wife and I are strangers. And what if your wife still loves you? What if she's hurting because of your indifference? He smirked. Marina, you don't know me. My wife only cares about the kids, the house, what's for dinner. She doesn't bother with love or feelings. She's happy being a housewife. How do you know? Have you even asked her? Why ask? It's obvious. She's put on weight, stopped taking care of herself, only talks about chores. Does that sound like a woman in love? A taxi pulled up. I slipped off his jacket and handed it back. You know, Andrew, I think you're very wrong about your wife. Maybe you should take a closer look at her. Thank you for the evening. I got into the car without looking back. Gave the driver Linda's address. I had to change and take out the lenses before heading home. In the rearview mirror, I saw Andrew standing on the sidewalk, staring after the cab. At Linda's, I quickly removed the makeup and changed into my usual clothes. She was waiting for details, but I was too wound up to talk. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. I need to process it all. Of course. But you did the right thing going. Now you know the truth. The truth. Yes, now I knew the truth about my husband, about how he saw me, about what he told others. And it was bitter. Home was quiet. The kids were asleep. I peeked into their rooms, tucked in their blankets. My sweet, beloved children. For them I had endured, stayed silent, forgiven for all these years. The bedroom was empty. Andrew wasn't home yet. I changed into pajamas and got into bed. But sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept replaying the night, his words, the looks, the revelations. Andrew came back around 2 a.m. Tried to move quietly so as not to wake me. Went into the bathroom, then slid into bed beside me. He smelled of alcohol and women's perfume. Not mine. You awake? He asked in the dark. You woke me. How was the party? Fine. Boring without you, he lied easily, like he'd been doing it all his life. Really? Of course. Everyone kept asking where my wife was. I had to say you were sick. Another lie. No one had asked, because everyone knew Andrew Walker was ashamed of his wife. Andrew, do you love me? He froze, then turned toward me. Strange question. We've been married 15 years, we have 2 kids. Of course I love you. No, I mean seriously. Do you love me as a woman? Or are you just used to me, just tolerating me? Marina, what kind of questions are these in the middle of the night? You've got ideas in your head again? Go to sleep. It's the weekend, we'll catch up on rest. He turned his back, and within minutes, he was snoring. I lay there staring at the ceiling. My chest felt empty, cold. Like something had died. Probably the last shred of hope that things could still be fixed. Saturday morning started as usual. Andrew got up late, had breakfast, and left for his workout at the fitness club. He wouldn't be back until evening, he had the sauna with friends. The kids went off to their activities, Daisy to dance, Michael to soccer. I was alone. I sat at the computer, opened a new document, and started writing. Not a magazine article. A letter. To myself. About how I felt, what I wanted, how I saw my future. I wrote for a long time, carefully. And slowly, clarity came. I didn't want to be the woman my husband saw anymore. The gray mouse, the housewife, the burden. I wanted to be the woman I was last night. Confident, beautiful, desirable. My phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Hello, Marina Nicholson? This is Victor, CEO of the construction company. We met at the party last night. My heart skipped a beat. Had he figured me out? Good afternoon, Victor. How can I help you? Well, I'd like to discuss a project with you. Last night you mentioned an interesting concept for our new housing developments ad campaign. Could we meet Monday? I remembered. I really had tossed out a couple of ideas in a conversation with him and some other execs, just to keep the cover story going. Of course, I'd be happy to go over the details. Excellent. And Marina, you made quite an impression last night. It's rare to meet a woman who understands business so well and still carries herself so gracefully. Andrew Walker couldn't take his eyes off you all evening. Thank you for the compliment, Victor. It's not a compliment, it's the truth. See you Monday. My secretary will call you about the time. He hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand, realizing the CEO of my husband's company had just invited me to a business meeting. He praised me. And he mentioned that Andrew hadn't taken his eyes off me all night. The next call was from Linda. So, have you recovered from last night? More or less. Linda, listen. Victor, the CEO of Andrew's company, wants to meet me Monday. To discuss an ad project. Wow. Sounds like you didn't waste your time there. So what are you going to do? I don't know. It feels like a lie. I don't actually work at your agency. Who says you don't? If you want, I'll register you right now as a freelance consultant. You've got editing experience, you've written about advertising and marketing. You'll consult us on copy. And while you're at it, maybe land us a new client. Linda, this is crazy. This is an opportunity, girl. A chance to start a new life. To be who you want to be, not who your husband says you are. She was right. It was a chance. Crazy, risky, but a chance. Fine, I'm in. But if something goes wrong, it won't. I believe in you. And you know what? Come to my office Monday morning. I'll introduce you to the team properly, give you materials on the project so you're up to speed. And we'll put together a wardrobe for your business meetings. The rest of the weekend passed in a strange excitement. I prepared for Monday, read professional literature, brushed up on marketing and advertising. Andrew didn't notice a thing, too busy with his own stuff. Sunday evening, while we were having dinner as a family, he suddenly said, "By the way, there'll be changes at the company. A new ad campaign, rebranding. Victor wants to take things to the next level. Interesting, I said, spooning some salad. Yeah, and you know, at the party last night there was this woman from the ad agency. Really impressive. Smart, beautiful, full of great ideas. Victor was thrilled with her. Really? I tried to sound indifferent. Yep. Her name's Marina. Just moved here from Seattle. I think she's going to go far in business. Does she have a husband? Michael suddenly asked. Husband? Andrew repeated. No, she's single, he answered quickly, then caught himself. Why do you ask? You talk about her like you're in awe of her. Daisy shot her father a sharp look, then glanced at me. She was always perceptive. Dad, why didn't Mom go to the party? She asked. Mom was sick, Andrew replied quickly. I wasn't sick, I said calmly. Dad decided I wouldn't find it interesting. Why not interesting? Michael frowned. There was music and good food, right? It's an event for employees and partners, Andrew explained. Mom would have been bored. But Marina wasn't bored, Daisy pressed. She works in advertising. It was part of her job. And Mom works too. She writes articles. That's different, Andrew cut her off. The kids exchanged looks but didn't push further. The rest of dinner passed in tense silence. That night I couldn't sleep again. Tomorrow was the start of a new chapter in my life. A chapter where I wouldn't be Andrew Walker's wife, but Marina Nicholson, consultant at an ad agency. Scared? Terrified. But also exhilarated. Monday morning. Andrew left for work early as usual. The kids went to school. I got ready and headed to Linda's office. She greeted me warmly, introduced me to her colleagues as their new copy consultant. No one seemed surprised, she must have told them already. Here's your temporary desk, she showed me into a small office. Computers ready, all the materials are here. Our art director will stop by to show you the projects we've done for the construction company. Be ready for your meeting with Victor. For 2 hours I pored over the materials, took notes, drafted ideas. Concepts started forming in my head, one after another. It was like I'd woken up from a long sleep. At 1 o'clock, Victor's secretary called. A car would pick me up in 30 minutes. The meeting was set for a restaurant, not the office. A restaurant's good, Linda said. Means he's serious. Wear that black Calvin Klein dress, professional but elegant. And the mid-heel pumps, so you'll be comfortable. I changed, refreshed my makeup. The woman in the mirror was confident, professional. Not a housewife. Not a gray mouse. The new Marina. The car arrived on time. A black Mercedes with a driver. At the restaurant, Victor was already waiting at a table in a private room. Marina, good to see you. Please, sit. We ordered a light lunch and got down to business. I presented my ideas for the ad campaign for the new housing development. The concept, a home where happiness lives, with a focus on family values, comfort, and safety. Victor listened carefully, occasionally asking questions. Excellent, he said when I finished. You've captured exactly what we want to convey to our buyers. You know, I was talking about you with my wife last night. Elizabeth's impressed too. She said it's rare to meet a woman with such taste and intellect. Thank you, that means a lot. I'd like to offer you a contract. Not just a one-off project, ongoing cooperation. You'll oversee our company's entire ad strategy. We'll discuss terms, but I can tell you now, they'll be very favorable. I hadn't expected that. A long-term partnership? That would mean I'd be showing up regularly at my husband's company, working with his colleagues, seeing him. That's a very generous offer, Victor. I'll need to discuss it with the agency's leadership. Of course, I understand. But I want you to know, I see huge potential in you. And by the way, Andrew Walker will be supervising this project from our side. You'll be working closely together. I hope that's not a problem, working side by side with my own husband, who didn't recognize me. It was absurd beyond belief. No problem. Andrew Walker struck me as a very competent professional. He's more than competent. He's one of our best employees. Though, in his personal life, things aren't so smooth. His wife doesn't really match his level. But that's his business. As long as it doesn't affect his work, that's what matters. Once again, I heard about myself in the third person, and again, in a negative light. Victor, have you ever met his wife? Seen her a couple times in passing. Just an ordinary woman, nothing remarkable. Andrew says she's a housewife, takes care of the kids. Well, for some people, that's a calling. A calling. My motherhood, my care for our family, reduced to the calling of a housewife. After lunch, the driver took me back to the agency. Linda was waiting eagerly. Well, he offered me a permanent contract and said Andrew would be supervising the project on their side. No way. You'll be working with your own husband. I know it's insane. But you know what? I'm going to accept. I want to see how long I can fool him. And at the same time, I'll prove what that so-called gray mouse can really do. Risky. What if he finds out? He won't. He only sees what he wants to see. To him, I'm one person at home and another here. He can't even imagine it could be the same woman. That evening at home, I acted as usual. Cooked dinner, checked Michael's homework, chatted with Daisy about her friends. Andrew came home excited. Can you believe it? Victor met with that Marina from the ad agency today. Offered her a permanent contract. And I'll be supervising the project. That's great, I said, stirring sauce on the stove. You don't get it. This is a huge opportunity. If the project works out, I'm up for a promotion. Maybe even director of development. What kind of project is it? An ad campaign for the new housing complex. Marina came up with a brilliant concept. About a home where happiness lives, family values, and all that. I smiled. My husband calling brilliant an idea that was mine to begin with, without knowing it. Family values? Do you even believe in those? He looked at me in surprise. Of course I do. Why would you ask something like that? It's just lately you've been at work more than at home. I wondered if family still matters to you. Marina, I work for the family. So you have everything you need. So the kids can go to good schools, so we can travel. We haven't traveled in 3 years. Because of work. But that's going to change soon, you'll see. He leaned in, pecked me on the cheek, and went to his study. I stood at the stove, wondering, what will he say when he finds out the truth? When he realizes that the Marina he's smitten with is his wife, the one he thinks is just a gray mouse. But that would come later. For now, I had a role to play. And I was going to play it to the end. The next day was the first project meeting. It was held at the construction company's office in a big conference room. About 15 people were there, marketers, designers, sales managers. And Andrew, of course. I arrived in a tailored business suit, my hair swept up in an elegant bun, makeup minimal. A professional. A businesswoman. Andrew greeted me at the entrance. Marina, so glad to see you. You look wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. Ready to work? More than ready. I've prepared all the project details. I think we should go over everything one-on-one first, then present it to the team. We went into his office. Spacious, with floor-to-ceiling windows, expensive furniture, diplomas, and certificates on the wall. Not a single family photo. As if he had no wife, no children. Coffee? Tea, he offered. Coffee, please. Black, no sugar. He looked surprised. At home, I always drank coffee with milk and sugar. So, how are you settling into the city? Miss Seattle? A little. But it's interesting here too. New people, new opportunities. Where are you staying, if you don't mind me asking? Renting an apartment downtown. Still figuring out where to buy. I can recommend some good neighborhoods. I know a realtor who'd help. Thanks, but I'm not in a rush. I want to be sure I'll be staying long-term first. And what could make you leave? I looked him straight in the eye. Disappointment. If I realize this city isn't for me, that people aren't who they pretend to be, I'll leave without hesitation. He stiffened, as if he sensed the hidden meaning. I hope we won't give you a reason to be disappointed. Then we got down to business. I presented a detailed plan for the campaign, budget, timeline, strategy. Andrew listened carefully, took notes, asked sharp questions. At work, he was different, focused, intelligent, professional. The very man I once fell in love with. At the team meeting, my presentation was a hit. Everyone was impressed with the concept, the ideas, the approach. Victor, who was there too, emphasized several times that bringing me on board was the right decision. Afterward, Andrew suggested we have lunch together. Let's celebrate the start of our collaboration. I agreed. I was curious to see how far he would take things. At the restaurant, he was the perfect gentleman. Pulled out my chair, helped with the menu, shared funny stories from office life. And compliment after compliment, how smart, beautiful, talented I was. Andrew, may I ask a personal question? I said over dessert. Of course. Are you happy in your marriage? He nearly choked on his coffee. Why do you ask? At the party, you said you and your wife live like strangers. That must be hard, right? He stayed quiet for a moment, then sighed. You know, Marina, marriages come in all shapes. My wife and I married young, for love. But people change. I grew professionally, developed, and she stayed in the same place. Now we have nothing to talk about except the kids and the household. Have you tried to change that? Talk to her, suggest growing together? Why? She's fine with things as they are. The house, the kids, TV shows in the evenings. She doesn't want anything different. How do you know, if you haven't asked her? I've known her for 15 years. Trust me, I know what she wants and doesn't want. I took a sip of water to hide my emotions. He'd known me 15 years and didn't know me at all. And do you have a mistress? I asked bluntly. He flushed. Where'd you get that idea? At the party, people said you were seeing someone in accounting. Gossip. People in our company love to gossip. But from his reaction, I knew it was true. My husband had a mistress. A young blonde from accounting. You know, Andrew, I think if someone's unhappy in a marriage, they should either try to save it or end it honestly. Not live a double life. Easy to say when you don't have kids. Sometimes you endure for their sake. Kids can tell when their parents are unhappy. It doesn't help them, believe me. He gave me a thoughtful look. You're a wise woman, Marina. Too bad my wife isn't like that. It took everything in me not to throw the rest of my dessert in his face. The next few weeks flew by in work. The project gained momentum, the ad campaign started coming to life. I spent almost every day at the construction company's office, meeting with designers, copywriters, marketers. And always working with Andrew. He was more and more captivated by me. Invited me to lunches, dinners, the theater. I turned him down, blaming my schedule, but sometimes agreed to business lunches. I wanted to study him, to understand how he'd gotten to this point. At home, our relationship grew more formal. He came late, left early. Hardly spoke to me, only to the kids. Then he moved into his study, claiming I snored and kept him from sleeping. I don't snore. But I didn't argue. Honestly, it was easier without him. One evening, when the kids were at their grandmother's, I was home alone. Andrew, as usual, was running late. I was sitting in the living room reading when I heard the door open. But instead of the usual tired I'm home, I heard laughter. A woman's laughter. I peeked into the hallway. Andrew was standing there with a young blonde, about 25. Both of them tipsy. "Oh, your wife's home," the girl said when she saw me. "This is my wife, Marina," Andrew introduced. "And this is Elena, our new hire in accounting." I gave her a ride. Her car broke down. Elena. So that was her name. My husband's mistress. "Good evening," I said calmly. "Good evening. Sorry to intrude." Andrew offered me a lift, but I live on the opposite side of town. He said he needed to stop by home for some documents. Documents? At 10 o'clock at night? No problem. Would you like some tea? No, thank you. I should go. Andrew, I'll take a cab. I'll call one, he said, pulling out his phone. While he ordered, Elena stood in the hall, looking me over. Her eyes held curiosity and a trace of disdain. So this was the wife Andrew talked about. Old, unattractive, a boring housewife. When she left, Andrew went to the kitchen. "Is there anything to eat?" "There are cutlets in the fridge." "Heat them up." "You couldn't do it for me?" "I could. But I'm not going to serve you after you brought your mistress into our home." He flinched. "What mistress?" "Elena's just a colleague." "Andrew, don't take me for a fool. I see and understand perfectly well." "What do you understand?" "You sit at home all day, you don't know anything about real life, and you play the victim." "I'm not playing the victim. I'm stating a fact. My husband has a mistress." "So what? Even if that's true, why do you care? We haven't lived like a married couple in a long time." "Whose choice was that?" "Mutual. You distanced yourself, became cold." "I became cold after you started humiliating me. Telling me I was fat, ugly, boring. I was telling the truth. Look at yourself." I stood up, stepped close to him. "I look at myself every day. And you know what I see? A woman who gave birth to 2 children. Who built a home, created warmth. Who sacrificed her career for her family. And who got a cheating husband as her reward. You're being dramatic, as always. Nobody forced you to sacrifice your career. Really? Who told me my work didn't matter? That the kids were all that mattered? Who refused to hire help so I'd have time for myself? Don't twist it. You wanted to stay with the kids. There was no point arguing. He'd rewritten the story in his head to suit himself. You know what, Andrew? Do whatever you want. Be with whoever you want. Just don't bring them into our home. This is my home too, and I don't have to put up with your tantrums." "Fine," he shrugged. "I'm barely home anyway." He went into his study, and I stood in the kitchen. Empty inside. No pain, no anger. Just exhaustion. The next day at work, or at the agency, as I was already used to calling it, Linda noticed my state. "What happened?" I told her about the night before. "What a bastard. He brought his mistress home." "Marina, stop putting up with this. Divorce him." "I can't. Not yet. The kids, it would be too hard for them." "And it's not hard for you?" "It is. But I'm used to it by now. And besides, I have work now. That helps." Speaking of work, Victor's thrilled with the progress so far. Says you're a marketing genius. He wants to offer you the position of marketing director at their company. What? But I work at the agency. Technically. But really, you're a freelancer. You can work wherever you want. And think about it, marketing director at a major construction company. That's a huge career move. And the salary matches. Marketing director in the same company where my husband was deputy director of development. That would put us almost on the same level. I wondered how he'd take it. I need to think. Think. But not too long. Offers like this don't come twice. 2 days later, Victor invited me to his office. "Marina, I'll be straight with you. We need you. Not as an outside consultant, but as part of the team. I'm offering you the marketing director position. He named the salary, and it took my breath away. It was 3 times what Andrew earned. That's a very generous offer, Victor. You deserve it. In 1 month, you've done more than our previous marketing head did in a year. Sales are already up, and the campaign hasn't even fully launched. And what will Andrew Walker say? We're working on the same project. Andrew will be pleased. He's crazy about you. Just yesterday, he spent half an hour going on about how talented you are. The irony. My husband admired me without knowing it was me. May I think until Monday? Of course. But I'm counting on a yes. That evening at home, I cooked dinner and thought, if I accepted, I'd be working in the same company as Andrew. Seeing him every day. He still hadn't recognized me, but sooner or later he would. And then what? Mom, what are you thinking about? Daisy hugged me from behind. Work, sweetie. Did you get a new article assignment? Something like that. You know, Mom, you've been different lately. More confident, I think. And prettier. Well, you're always pretty, but now you're glowing. Thank you, sweetheart. Must be the spring air. Mom, can I ask you something? Do you love Dad? The question caught me off guard. Why do you ask? You two barely talk. Dad's always at work or shut in his office. You don't even have dinner together after me and Michael go to bed. My daughter was more observant than I thought. Daisy, grown-up relationships are complicated. Sometimes people drift apart. Are you going to get divorced? I don't know, honey. Time will tell. She hugged me tighter. If it happens, I'll stay with you. You're the best mom in the world. Tears welled in my eyes. I turned and hugged her back. Thank you, darling. You're the best too. That weekend, Andrew went fishing with friends. I decided to have a beauty day. Salon, shopping, a movie with the kids. Daisy helped me pick clothes. She had great taste. Mom, get this dress. It looks amazing on you. It really was beautiful. Dark red, elegant, flattering. Isn't it too young for me? Mom, please. You're not 70. You're a beautiful woman in your prime. I bought the dress. And a few other things. A new wardrobe for a new life. On Monday morning, I called Victor. I accept. Excellent. When can you start? Tomorrow, if you'd like. Then tomorrow it is. I'll call a meeting and introduce you officially. And Marina, welcome to the team. That evening at dinner, I told my family. I have news. I got a job offer. Andrew looked up from his plate. A job? What job? Marketing director at a major construction company. He laughed. Marina, have you lost your mind? Marketing director? You're a housewife. I'm an editor with 15 years experience. And for the past month, I've successfully led a major ad project. What project? Where? At Art Design. I worked as a consultant. You? At Art Design? Don't make me laugh. I know all their employees. Not all of them, apparently. Mom, that's awesome. Michael exclaimed. You're going to be a big boss. Thank you, sweetheart. And what company is offering this fairy tale job? Andrew asked with irony. I paused, savoring the moment. Yours. Or more precisely, the company where you work. The fork slipped from his hands. What? This is some kind of joke. No joke. Victor personally offered me the position. Tomorrow's my first day. But that's impossible. I'd know if they were looking for a marketing director. And besides, Victor doesn't even know you. Apparently, he does. Otherwise, he wouldn't have offered me the job. Andrew shot up from the table. This has to be some mistake. I'll get to the bottom of it tomorrow. Go ahead, I said calmly. Meanwhile, I'll go lay out my clothes for tomorrow. First impressions matter. That night Andrew didn't sleep. I heard him pacing in his study, making phone calls. Probably trying to figure out what was going on. But it was late on a Monday night, and no one was answering. In the morning, I got up early and dressed with care. A sharp suit, flawless makeup, perfectly styled hair. Marina Nicholson, marketing director. Andrew intercepted me at the door. Marina, this is a mistake. You can't work at our company. Why not? Because you're my wife. It's unethical. Unethical as having a mistress in accounting. Working at the same company as your wife is perfectly fine. Or are you ashamed of me? It's just unexpected. Life's full of surprises, darling. See you at work. I walked out, leaving him standing in the hallway, mouth hanging open. At the construction company office, they welcomed me like a VIP. The secretary showed me to my office, spacious, with a stunning city view. The nameplate on the door read, M. Nicholson, Marketing Director. Nicholson, not Walker. I decided to use my maiden name for work. An hour later, the staff meeting began. Victor formally introduced me to the team. About 50 people were there, including all the top managers. And Andrew, of course. Colleagues, I'm pleased to introduce our new marketing director, Marina Nicholson. Many of you already know her from the project with art design. Marina delivered outstanding results, and I'm confident under her leadership our marketing department will reach new heights. Applause. I stood, thanked them for their trust, gave a short overview of my plans. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Andrew's face. He was stunned, staring at me like he'd seen a ghost. After the meeting, he came up to me. We need to talk. Of course. I've got 30 minutes before my next meeting. We went into my new office. Andrew closed the door and turned to me. Marina, what is going on? I became marketing director. What, wasn't I just a housewife? A gray mouse? An embarrassment to you? I didn't mean it like that. Then how? Andrew, I've always been capable. You just never noticed. You were too busy with your career and your pretty young employees. What do young employees have to do with this? Oh, come on, Elena in accounting. How's she? Still need you to drive her around? His face turned red. That's none of your business. Agreed. Just like my job is none of yours. I'm here at Victor's invitation, and I'll do my job to the best of my ability. But you don't even know the specifics. Really? And who led the ad campaign project last month? Who came up with the concept you called brilliant? That was Marina from the agency. Wait, it started to dawn on him. That was you? You were that Marina from Seattle? Bingo. Finally clicked. But how? You looked completely different. Different eyes, different hair, contacts, professional makeup, a new hairstyle. Amazing what a woman can do when she decides to change her life. You deceived me. Me? Deceived you? You're the one who told everyone your wife was a boring housewife. You're the one who asked me out, not knowing I was your wife. You're the one who admitted you wanted a divorce. Andrew sank into a chair. He looked lost, deflated. I don't understand. Why did you do this? To prove to myself, and to you, that I'm worth something. That I'm not some gray mouse you're ashamed to bring around your colleagues. Marina, Save it. We're colleagues, and I suggest we act accordingly. At work, I'm Marina Nicholson, Marketing Director. At home, we'll figure that out later. I opened the door, signaling the conversation was over. Andrew walked out, and I sat at my new desk. Emails, reports, and documents already waited on the screen. A new life had begun. The first weeks weren't easy. I had to learn the processes, get the department running smoothly after being leaderless for so long. But I managed. My editor's experience helped me organize, find creative solutions. The team welcomed me warmly, especially after my very first initiative brought in a major contract. I suggested using virtual reality to showcase properties. Clients loved it. Andrew kept his distance. At work, he spoke only about business. At home, he barely spoke at all. Slept in his study, ate separately. The kids noticed the tension. "Mom, did you and Dad have a fight?" Michael asked. "No, sweetheart. We just both have a lot of work right now." "Then why isn't Dad happy about your new job?" "It's so cool that my mom's a big boss. Dad just needs time to adjust to the changes." But Andrew didn't adjust. He grew angrier, especially after Victor praised me publicly at a corporate meeting, saying I'd brought the company more profit in 2 months than the last marketing director had in a year. And then the thing happened that I'd expected, but hoped to avoid. At the office party celebrating the end of a successful quarter, I wore that same red dress Daisy helped me pick out. I looked stunning, everyone noticed. Elizabeth, Victor's wife, approached me with a glass of champagne. "Marina, you look absolutely breathtaking tonight. Andrew can't take his eyes off you." I turned. Andrew was indeed watching me, but his gaze wasn't filled with love, it was closer to despair. "You know," Elizabeth went on, "I'm glad things are working out for you. You and Andrew make a wonderful couple." "A couple? We're just colleagues." "Oh, come on. Everyone sees the way he looks at you. Besides, he told me himself he's divorcing his wife. So there's nothing standing in the way." Just then Elena, Andrew's mistress from accounting, walked up. "Sorry to butt in. Elizabeth, you're mistaken. Andrew Walker isn't divorcing anyone. I've been to his house. I saw his wife. Just some frumpy, overweight housewife. He only stays with her out of pity, for the kid's sake." My face burned. This girl stood there, telling me my own story. "Elena, are you sure it's appropriate to discuss a colleague's personal life?" I said coolly. "What's the big deal? Everyone knows. Andrew doesn't hide that he's miserable in his marriage. Says his wife doesn't understand him, they live like roommates." "Interesting. And what else do you know about his wife?" "What is there to know? She sits at home, takes care of the kids, watches TV shows. Andrew says she doesn't even read books, just cooking magazines." That was too much. My husband had been feeding his mistress lies about me, making me out to be some kind of idiot. "You know what, Elena? I don't think you know the whole truth about Andrew Walker's family. And judging a person you've seen once in passing is, at the very least, inappropriate. And how would you know? You've never even met his wife." I smiled. "Oh, I know her very well. In fact, I can tell you she's nothing like the way her husband describes her. She's smart, educated, with 2 university degrees. She gave up her career for her family. And you know what? She recently went back to work and achieved remarkable success." Elena and Elizabeth exchanged glances. "You talk like you know her personally," Elizabeth remarked. "More than personally. I know everything about her. For example, that she's standing right in front of you." Silence. Elena turned pale, Elizabeth's mouth dropped open. You're Andrew's wife?" Elena whispered. "That's right. The frumpy housewife who supposedly sits at home watching TV. Nice to meet you under normal circumstances." Elena backed away, muttered something, and hurried off. Elizabeth stared at me with admiration. "Marina, that was incredible. You really played him. But why?" "To find out the truth. And to show my husband what he's losing. And now? I don't know. Time will tell." The news that the new marketing director was Andrew Walker's wife spread through the office within an hour. People looked at me differently now, with respect, curiosity, some even with sympathy. Andrew found me in my office at the end of the evening. "Why did you do that? Why reveal yourself?" "I'm tired of the lies. Tired of being Marina Nicholson when I'm Marina Walker. Now everyone will gossip. Let them. I don't care. I'm done hiding and being ashamed of who I am. He sat across from me, took my hand. Marina, forgive me. I was an idiot. I didn't appreciate you, I put you down. But seeing you like this, I realized the woman I'm losing. Too late, Andrew. Much too late. Let's try again. For the kids, for us, there is no us anymore. There's me, and there's you. Two different people who once loved each other. I still love you. No. You love Marina Nicholson, the successful businesswoman. But Marina Walker, the mother of your children, you despise her. That won't change. It will. I've realized my mistakes. Andrew, you brought your mistress into our home. You told everyone how awful I was. You planned to divorce me as soon as the kids grew up. And now, just because I've become successful, you've suddenly seen the light? No, it doesn't work like that. He lowered his head. What do you want? A divorce? I don't know yet. I need time to think. For now, let's live like neighbors. For the kids. But don't fool yourself, Andrew. What we had is gone. He left, and I stayed in my office. Outside, the lights of Denver sparkled in the night. A new life was just beginning. Frightening and exciting all at once. But one thing I knew for sure, there was no going back. I would never again be the Marina who could be humiliated and overlooked. I was someone new now. And I liked her. 3 months passed since I became marketing director. 3 months of a new life, more challenging and more rewarding than I could have imagined. Under my leadership, the company launched several successful projects. Sales jumped 30%, and at the last board meeting, Victor called me the discovery of the year. At home, things were strange. Andrew and I lived like roommates. We greeted each other politely, discussed chores and the kids, but nothing more. He still slept in his study, I in the bedroom. On weekends, he disappeared, fishing, visiting friends, or wherever else. I didn't ask. Elena from accounting quit a week after that fateful party. They said she'd found a job in another city. Andrew never commented, but I could see he was hurting. He grew even more withdrawn, burying himself in work. The kids felt the tension too. Daisy started spending more time at her friends' houses. Michael shut himself in with his computer. I tried to talk to them, but what could I say? That their parents didn't love each other anymore? That dad betrayed mom and mom couldn't forgive? One evening, while the kids were at their grandmother's and Andrew was supposedly at a meeting, I sat home alone, sorting through documents. Then the doorbell rang. On the doorstep stood a well-groomed woman, about 35, in an expensive coat. Marina Walker, she asked. Yes, that's me. And you are? Tatiana Roberts. May I come in? It's about your husband. My heart sank. Another mistress. I let her in, offered tea. She declined and sat on the edge of the couch, nervously fiddling with her purse. I don't know how to begin, she said. This is so awkward. Say it straight. If you're involved with my husband, I can guess. No. I mean, yes, there was something, but not now. We ended things 6 months ago. 6 months ago. So before Elena, there was Tatiana Roberts. And why are you here? I'm pregnant, she blurted out, bursting into tears. With Andrew's child. I'm 5 months along, I can't hide it anymore. The room spun. I gripped the arm of my chair, fighting off dizziness. Are you sure it's Andrew's? Yes. There was no one else during that time. I didn't know what to do. At first I thought of ending it, but I couldn't. Then I decided to raise the baby alone, but I'm 36. This is my last chance to become a mother. I can't waste it. And what do you want from me? Nothing. I just thought you should know. Andrew has no idea, I never told him. He left me when he met that girl from accounting. Said I was a mistake, that he loved his family. And a week later, I found out I was pregnant. I looked at this woman, her tears, the curve of her belly under her coat. Should I be angry? Pity her? Pity myself? I didn't know. Why come now? I followed the company news. Saw you were working there now, that you'd become successful. I thought maybe you were divorcing, and then I could tell Andrew. But then I learned you're still living together. And I decided you deserve to know the truth. So you can make a decision. What decision? Stay with him or leave. I won't destroy your family if you decide to keep the marriage. I'll move to another city, have the baby, raise it alone. But if you divorce, you hope to marry him? She shook her head. No. I don't love him anymore. He showed me who he really is when he dumped me for that younger one. But the baby needs a father. At least financial support and some part in raising it. We sat in silence. My head was spinning. My husband hadn't cheated with just one woman, there had been at least two. And one of them was carrying his child. Our kids would have a half-sibling. How would I explain that to them? Thank you for telling me, I finally said. I need time to think. Of course. Here's my number. She handed me a card. Call me when you decide. I've got about 4 months before the birth. She left, and I sat there in shock. Then I poured myself some wine. Then more. By the time Andrew came home, I was drunk. Marina, you're drinking? He stared at me and the empty bottle on the table. Why not? Or is that privilege reserved for successful men only? What happened? Tatiana Roberts came by. You know her? He went pale. How do you? She's pregnant, Andrew. 5 months. And it's yours. He sank onto the couch, burying his head in his hands. That's impossible. We used protection. Apparently not well enough. Congratulations, you're going to be a father again. Marina, I didn't know. I swear, if I had. What? You wouldn't have dumped her for Elena? Or you wouldn't have cheated at all? I was a fool. Midlife crisis, I don't know. I wanted to feel young, desirable. And did you? Was it worth it? He lifted his eyes, wet with tears. No. It wasn't worth anything. I lost you, destroyed our family. And now this. What are you going to do? I don't know. What about you? Do you want a divorce? I stood, swaying, steadying myself against the wall. You know what, Andrew? I'm tired. Tired of your lies, your affairs, your humiliation. Tired of pretending everything's fine for the kid's sake. Yes, I want a divorce. But not yet. Give me time to prepare Daisy and Michael. And to decide what comes next. I don't want to lose you. You already did. The moment you said I was an embarrassment and unworthy of your office party. The moment you brought a mistress into our home. The moment you fathered a child with someone else. I went to the bedroom, leaving him on the couch. I couldn't sleep all night, thinking about the future. How would I tell the kids? How would we split assets? Where would we live? There were more questions than answers. In the morning, with a pounding head from last night's wine, I went to work. I needed distraction, something to bury myself in. We had a big deal coming up with a New York investor, and I was preparing the presentation. But in my office, a surprise was waiting. A well-dressed man of about 45 sat there in a tailored suit. Marina Nicholson, Alexei Yershov. I represent the investment firm Capital Invest. Sorry to drop by unannounced, but I have a proposal you may find interesting. I'm listening. We've been following your achievements at this company. Impressive results in such a short time. We'd like to offer you the chance to head the marketing division of our new project. It's a national-level operation, office in New York. The salary, he named a figure 5 times higher than what I earned now. This is very unexpected. I understand. But we know how to value talent. You're exactly the kind of person we need. Young, forgive me, you won't be offended if I say you don't look a day over 35? I smiled. I'm not offended. But I need to think. I have a family, children. Of course. We're ready to provide housing in New York, cover moving costs, enroll your kids in the best schools. Think it over. Here's my card. I'll wait for your answer within 2 weeks. He left, and I sat holding the business card. New York. A new life. A chance to start fresh. Tempting. All day I couldn't focus on work. Yershav's offer kept spinning in my head. In the evening I called Linda and told her everything about Tatiana and about the job offer. Wow. Your life's like a TV drama. A pregnant mistress and a dream job offer all in one day. What should I do, Linda? What do you want? Forget your husband, the kids, the mistresses. What do you, Marina, want? I want to be happy. I want to wake up in the morning with joy, not with heaviness in my chest. I want to be valued and respected. I want to realize myself professionally. Then the answer's obvious. Say yes to New York. Start a new life. And the kids? They're already teenagers. Daisy will graduate in 3 years, Michael in 5. They'll understand. In the end, you have the right to be happy. That evening, I called a family meeting. Andrew, Daisy, Michael. All sat at the table, waiting for me to speak. I have important news. First, I was offered a job in New York. A very good position, with great prospects. You want to leave? Daisy asked. I'm considering it. But first I want to hear your opinion. And will we go with you? Michael asked. If you want. There's a good school there, more opportunities for education. And Dad? Daisy looked at Andrew. Dad will stay here. His job, his life is here. You're getting divorced. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Daisy was always perceptive. I looked at Andrew. He nodded. Yes, sweetheart. Your mom and I decided to divorce. That doesn't mean we'll stop loving you. You'll always be our kids, the most loved and cherished. But we can't live together as husband and wife anymore. Michael burst into tears. Daisy hugged him, barely holding back her own. Is this because of that lady from accounting? I'm not a kid. I heard you fighting. And at school they said they saw Dad with a young blonde. The kids knew. Of course they knew. Kids always sense more than we think. It's one of the reasons, I admitted. But not the only one. Your dad and I became strangers. It happens. I want to stay with Mom, Daisy said firmly. If she goes to New York, I'm going with her. Me too, Michael added. Andrew looked crushed. Kids, you can live with whoever you want. And visit me whenever you like. I'll always be your dad. Dad, is it true we're going to have a half-brother or sister? Daisy suddenly asked. Andrew went pale. How did you? That woman came by this afternoon. I was home, sick. She didn't know I was your daughter, thought I was Mom's friend. She told me about the pregnancy. So there it was. All secrets out. Yes, Andrew breathed. It's true. So you cheated on Mom not just with that blonde? Daisy, these are adult relationships. No, Dad. This is betrayal. Mom spent years at home raising us, and you? I don't understand you. She stood and left for her room. Michael ran after her. We were left alone. I'm sorry, Andrew said. For everything. Too late for sorry. Let's discuss practical matters. The apartment, assets, child support. The apartment is yours and the kids'. I'll find something else. I'll pay alimony, whatever you say. And I'll help with a place in New York if you need it. You'll have another child. Will you have enough money for everyone? I'll find extra work if I have to. You and the kids are my priority. Even if we're divorcing. The next 2 weeks were spent preparing for the move. I accepted Yershaw's offer, submitted my resignation. Victor was upset, offered me a promotion and a raise, but I'd made up my mind. It's a shame to lose you, Marina. You did so much for the company. Thank you for everything, Victor. For believing in me, for giving me a chance. You made your own chance. By the way, how's Andrew? I heard you're divorcing. Yes. That's how it turned out. He's a fool for losing a woman like you. But that's his problem. I wish you happiness in New York. My colleagues organized a farewell evening. Almost everyone came, even those I barely knew. They gave me flowers, gifts, wished me success. Andrew came too, standing apart, watching me with sad eyes. At the end of the night, he approached. Can I walk you home? Why? I just want to spend a little more time with you. One last time as your husband. We walked through the evening city. The very city where our whole life together had unfolded. Past the park where we strolled with strollers. Past the cafe where we celebrated our first anniversary. Past the school where we took the kids on their first day. Remember how we dreamed of a big house? Andrew said. Of a dog, of 3 kids. I remember. But dreams have a way of not coming true. Or coming true differently than we imagined. We will have 3 children. Just not the way we planned. Will you take care of the baby, Andrew? Yes. It's my child, my responsibility. Tatiana agreed to shared custody. And will you marry her? No. We're not right for marriage. I only end up hurting everyone I love. We reached the house. Our house, which would soon stop being ours. Marina, can I say something? Say it. I loved you. I truly loved you. I just lost myself somewhere along the way, and lost you too. I started chasing success, status, youth. And I lost what mattered most. Family. You. Forgive me, if you can. I forgive you, Andrew. Not for you, for myself. So I don't drag this weight into my new life. Be happy. And try to be a good father to all 3 of your children. He hugged me. One last embrace. It carried so much pain, regret, unfulfilled hope. Then he let go and walked away without looking back. A month later, the kids and I moved to New York. The company gave us a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood, close to school. At first it was hard, but they adapted quickly. Daisy found friends and got into a theater group. Michael joined a robotics club, something he'd dreamed of for years. Work was fascinating and on a whole new scale. I led an entire division, handled federal projects, traveled on business trips. Alexei Yershav turned out to be a great boss, demanding but fair. He valued initiative and wasn't afraid to give me freedom. 6 months after the move, Andrew called. He said Tatiana had given birth to a boy. They named him Artyom. How did the kids take it? Calmly. Daisy said she's happy the baby has a father. Michael doesn't want to meet him yet, but I think he'll come around. And Tatiana? She's fine. We agreed. I support her financially, see the baby on weekends. She doesn't ask for more. And how does fatherhood feel the 3rd time around? Strange. Like life is giving me a second chance. Just not with you. We were silent for a moment. Marina, are you happy? I thought about it. Am I happy? Yes, I think so. Not the carefree happiness of youth, but a calm one, confidence in myself, in tomorrow. Yes, Andrew. I'm happy. I'm glad. Truly glad. You deserve happiness. After that, we only spoke about the kids. Life in New York went on. Work, home, children. Sometimes theaters, exhibitions, dinners with new friends. I wasn't in a rush to start a new relationship, though there were offers. I needed time to heal, to understand myself, my wants and needs. About a year after the move, at a corporate event, a man came up to me. Tall, silver-haired, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Excuse me, are you Marina Nicholson?" "Yes, and you are?" "Sergei Roshchin, architect. We're working with your company on a new project. I've heard a lot about you from Alexei. He says you work miracles in marketing." Alexei exaggerates. I don't think so. I've seen the results. Impressive. May I invite you for a glass of champagne? We started talking. Sergei was fascinating, well-read, witty, with a broad outlook. A widower, with a grown daughter in England. Passionate about architectural history, travel, classical music. "Do you like opera?" he asked. "I love it. But it's been a long time since I've gone. I have 2 tickets to La Traviata at the Met next week. Will you join me?" I agreed. Why not? It was just opera. But after the opera came dinner. After dinner, a walk through nighttime New York. Then more meetings, more conversations, visits to museums. Sergei didn't rush me, didn't pressure me, he was simply there. He supported me when things were hard, celebrated my successes, always had time to listen and give advice. The kids liked him. Daisy said he reminded her of a kind professor from a British film. Michael appreciated that Sergei didn't try to replace their father, just a friend who taught him chess. "Mom, do you like him?" Daisy asked one day. "Yes, I do." "And what happens next?" "I don't know. We live day by day." "Mom, you have the right to a personal life. Michael and I are growing up, soon we'll be gone for college. Don't stay alone because of us." Wise girl, my daughter. Another 6 months passed. Sergei and I became a real couple. We didn't live together, but spent much of our time side by side. He introduced me to his daughter when she came for the holidays, a sweet girl, studying art history at Oxford. That New Year's, the kids went to Andrew. He'd bought a house outside the city and wanted to show them how he'd settled in. I stayed in New York, with plans to spend the holiday with Sergei. Just the 2 of us, then a week in Vienna. On December 31st, as we were getting ready to celebrate, the phone rang. "Andrew." "Marina, Happy New Year." "Thank you, and to you too." "How are the kids?" "Good. Having fun, making salads. Mason's here too, Tatiana brought him. Michael's playing with him." "I'm glad to hear it. So he accepted his little brother?" "Yes." "Marina, I wanted to say thank you." "For what?" "For not turning the kids against me. For letting me see them. For raising them into such wonderful people. They're our children, Andrew. Both of ours. Whatever happened between us, they're not to blame. Daisy told me you have someone. An architect." "Yes, I do." "Is he a good man?" "Very. I'm happy for you." "Really?" "Be happy, Marina. You deserve it." "Thank you. And you be happy too. Happy New Year." I hung up and turned around. Sergei was standing in the doorway with 2 glasses of champagne. "Your ex-husband?" "Yes. He called to wish me a happy holiday." "Hard?" "No. Just so many years lived, and that's how it all ended. But something new begins," he said, handing me a glass. "To a new life, to new happiness." We clinked glasses. Outside, fireworks were already bursting. A new year. A new life. A new me. 2 more years passed. I became vice president of marketing at the company. Daisy got into Columbia University to study journalism. Michael was preparing for his final exams, dreaming of a top technical school. Sergey and I got married quietly, without a big celebration. Just signed the papers and had dinner with close friends. Andrew sent his congratulations and a bouquet of white roses. My favorite. He remembered. Sometimes I thought about the past. About that Marina standing in front of the mirror with a dress in her hands, listening to her husband's insults, believing she was unworthy, unattractive, boring. How far away it all seemed now. I'd learned a lot over the years. Learned to value myself, not to depend on others' opinions, to go after my goals. Learned to forgive, but not forget. Learned to be happy. The corporate party story became a legend among my friends. Linda loves telling it to new people, embellishing the details. Says it's the best story of female revenge and triumph she knows. But for me, it wasn't about revenge. It was about awakening. About how humiliation pushed me into a new life. How pain turned into strength. How I went from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Sometimes I'd see Andrew at school events or family gatherings. We'd politely say hello, talk about the kids. He looked older, tired. Still worked at the same company, lived alone. He and Tatiana never got back together, they raised Mason separately. One day, at Michael's graduation, he came up to me. "You look wonderful," he said. "Thank you. Are you happy with Sergey?" "Yes. Very. You know, I often wonder what would have happened if I hadn't said those words about the corporate party. Maybe things would have turned out differently. They wouldn't have, Andrew. If not the party, something else would have been the last straw. We were heading there for a long time. Maybe you're right. But I still regret it. Regret not valuing you, regret losing you. Don't. You have kids, your job, a new life. Live it. And you? Did you forgive me? I forgave you long ago. Not for you, for myself. Resentment is a heavy burden. I didn't want to drag it into my new life. Thank you. That means a lot to me." We stood in silence, watching our son receive his diploma. Tall, handsome. Our pride. "We raised good kids," Andrew said. "Yes, we did. Thank you for that. And thank you. No matter what, we had a good family. Once. And with that, we parted. Each to our own life, our own people, our own happiness, or lack of it." That evening, when the celebration ended and the guests had gone, Sergey hugged me. "What are you thinking about? Life. How strange it is. Sometimes you have to go through pain and humiliation to find yourself and your happiness." Philosophical. But you know what? I'm grateful to your ex-husband. For what? For being a fool and losing you. Otherwise, I would never have met the woman of my dreams. I smiled and leaned into him. Outside, the moon was shining, the kids were asleep in their rooms, and the man I loved was beside me. Life had settled into place. Not perfectly, not like a fairy tale, but truly. That story with the corporate party stayed in the past. A reminder that sometimes the most painful moments become turning points for the better. And that it's never too late to start a new life, to become the woman you always wanted to be. I often get letters from women who hear my story through mutual friends. They ask for advice on how to find the strength to change their lives. I always say the same thing: believe in yourself. You are stronger, smarter, and more beautiful than you think. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. And remember, life is only one, and you should live it so you won't regret wasted years. My friend Linda, who once helped me transform for that fateful corporate party, often jokes, "You should write a book about your story. It'll be a bestseller." Maybe someday I will. But for now, I'm too busy living a real, full, happy life. My daughter Daisy, now in her 3rd year of journalism school, once told me, "Mom, I'm proud of you. You showed me that a woman can do anything. She can fall and rise again, start over, be successful and happy." Thank you for that lesson, And Michael, my serious techie, once admitted, "You know, Mom, when you and Dad divorced, I was angry. At you, at him, at the world. But then I saw how you changed, how you blossomed. And I realized, sometimes separation isn't an end. It's the beginning of something better." The kids grew up wise. Maybe because they saw not a perfect picture of family, but real life with all its struggles. As for Andrew, we keep things civil. He's a good father, sees the kids regularly, supports them financially, takes an interest in their lives. He also has a good relationship with Mason, his son with Tatiana. The boy often spends time with him, plays with our kids when they visit their dad. Tatiana Roberts turned out to be a reasonable woman. We even ran into each other a couple of times at kids' events and spoke politely. She got married, had another child. Says she's happy. Life put everything in its place, and not long ago, something funny happened. I was on a business trip in Denver, meeting with partners. After the negotiations, I decided to take a walk downtown and stopped by a cafe. And there I ran into Elena, the same blonde from accounting. She had changed a lot. Gained weight, lost her looks, seemed tired. When she saw me, she first wanted to leave, but then came over. "Marina, hello." "Hello, Elena. May I sit?" I wanted to apologize. For everything. For being your husband's mistress, for what I said at the corporate party. I was young and stupid. It's all in the past, Elena. You know, I really thought Andrew would marry me. He promised. Said he was divorcing, that he loved me. And then you showed up at the company, so beautiful, so successful. He forgot me in a second. That's when I realized I'd just been a toy. I'm sorry. Don't be. I learned a good lesson. Later I married a simple guy, we have 2 kids, we live modestly, but happily. And you know what's funny? Now I understand you. I understand what it's like to sit at home with kids, run a household, forget about yourself. And I understand how cruel it is for a husband to belittle his wife for it. We talked a little more and went our separate ways. Life had taught her a lesson. Just like it once taught me. On the plane back to New York, I thought about everything that had happened over the years. About that corporate party that changed my life. About the words my husband said that cut so deep, but in the end pushed me toward change. Where do you think you're going? With that face, you'll embarrass me in front of the whole company. I still remember those words. But now they don't hurt. On the contrary, they remind me of how far I've come. From a humiliated housewife to vice president of a major company. From a woman afraid to show up at a corporate party to one giving presentations to hundreds. From a wife her husband was ashamed of to a woman people admire. But the most important thing isn't the career or the success. It's that I learned to respect and value myself. Learn not to depend on anyone's opinion. Learn to be happy. Sergey met me at the airport with a bouquet of my favorite peonies. How was the trip? Great. The contract signed, everyone's happy. I never doubted you. Home? Home. At home, the table was set, and the kids had come for the weekend. Daisy with her boyfriend, a physics student. Michael with a girl from his class. Mom, we decided, Daisy began over dinner. This summer we want to take a family trip. You, Sergey, me and Michael. Maybe the seaside? Or Europe. Wonderful idea, Sergey agreed. It's been a long time since we all vacationed together. I looked at them all, my new family, my grown kids, my beloved husband, and my heart filled with warmth. Yes, life hadn't been easy. Yes, I had to go through pain, betrayal, humiliation. But it all brought me here, to this moment, to this happiness. And you know what? I'm grateful. For everything and everyone. Even Andrew, for those cruel words. Because without them, this new me wouldn't exist. Strong, successful, happy. A woman who will never let herself be humiliated again. Who knows her worth? Who lives fully? Who is happy? And it all started with a corporate party I wasn't supposed to attend. Sometimes life delivers the most surprising gifts. The key is not to give up and to believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself. But the story didn't end there. 5 years after that corporate party, something happened that made me look at the whole situation in a new way. It was October. I was at an international marketing conference in Miami, giving a talk on new promotion strategies in the digital age. The hall was full, about 300 specialists from all over the country. After the talk, people came up to me with questions, exchanging contacts. And then I saw him. Andrew was standing by the exit, watching me. Older now, streaks of gray in his hair, but still fit and well-dressed. "Hi," he said once the crowd had thinned. "Andrew, what are you doing here?" "Work. Our company was invited too. I'm Chief Commercial Officer now. Congratulations on the promotion." "Thanks. Your talk was brilliant. You've grown so much professionally. 5 years have passed. A lot has changed." "Yes, a lot. Can we talk?" "Not here, somewhere quiet." I hesitated. Why stir up the past? But curiosity won. "All right. In the hotel bar in an hour." He nodded and left. I went back to the other participants, trying not to think about the conversation ahead. That evening the hotel bar was quiet. Andrew was already waiting at a table by the window, with a view of the ocean. "What will you drink?" he asked. "Dry red." He ordered wine for me, whiskey for himself. We sat in silence until the waiter brought the drinks. "You look wonderful," he began. "Happy. I am happy. And you?" "Work, life. Mason's growing, about to start school. Smart kid, takes after his dad," he smiled sadly. "And Tatiana?" "Got married 2 years ago. Moved to Atlanta. I see my son once a month." "That must be hard." "I've gotten used to it." "Marina, there's something I've wanted to tell you. Something I didn't dare say all these years." "I'm listening." "Do you remember that corporate party? When you showed up as Marina from Seattle?" "Of course I remember. I recognized you. Almost immediately. I nearly choked on my wine." "What? But how?" "You, the eyes. The lenses changed the color, but not the shape, not the expression. And the mole on your neck, you didn't cover it. And the way you tilt your head when you're listening. 1,000 little things only a husband would notice after 15 years of marriage. But you acted like you didn't know me. Flirted, asked me out. At first, I thought I was mistaken. My housewife Marina couldn't possibly be that dazzling woman. But the more I looked, the more convinced I became. And then I realized you were playing a role. You wanted to teach me a lesson. Why didn't you say so right away?" "Pride. Anger. And curiosity. I wanted to see how far you'd take it. And then it was too late. You showed me what an idiot I'd been. Showed me the kind of woman I had belittled, the one I failed to value. And you kept quiet all this time? What could I say? That I recognized you but decided to play along? That would have made everything worse. I hoped you'd confess yourself, and then we'd talk. But you kept up the game. And then Tatiana showed up with the pregnancy news, and everything spiraled out of control. I sat there stunned. All these years I thought I had fooled him, that I had taught him a lesson. But he knew. He knew and stayed silent. Why are you telling me this now? Because I want you to know the truth. I wasn't some blind fool my wife pulled one over on. I was just a fool who realized what he was losing but didn't know how to stop it. Pride, you know? Damn male pride. You could have changed everything. Admitted the truth, apologized, tried to fix it. I could have, but I didn't. And that's my cross to bear. I regret it every day. Especially when I see how our kids have grown, what wonderful people they've become. That's your doing. Not just mine. You raised them too, financially. But you gave them the real stuff, the confidence, the ability to love and forgive, the strength to move forward no matter what. Daisy told me how you supported her when she went through a tough time with that guy. Michael said you helped him choose his career path. I could never have given them that. We sat in silence, watching the ocean through the window. The sun was setting, painting the water gold and pink. You know what's the scariest part? Andrew went on. I still love you. The Marina I put down and failed to appreciate. The Marina who walked into that corporate party and wowed everyone. The Marina who became a successful businesswoman. I love every version of you. But I realized it too late. Andrew, don't say anything. I'm not looking for an answer or forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. And also, thank you. For what? For the lesson. You gave me the greatest lesson of my life. That you can't take people for granted. That you have to appreciate what you have. That appearances deceive and true beauty comes from within. An expensive lesson. Yeah. But a necessary one. You know, after our divorce, I did a lot of thinking. Even went to therapy. Tried to figure out why I became that man. And I realized I was afraid. Afraid of getting old, afraid of not being successful enough, afraid you'd stop loving me. And instead of working on myself, I started tearing you down. So you'd feel unworthy and never leave. Idiot. We were both far from perfect. Don't excuse me. I know my guilt. And I carry it. Loneliness, that's my punishment. You don't have to be alone. Find someone. Build a new family. I tried. There were women after Elena and Tatiana. But I compared them all to you. And I realized that wasn't fair to them. So I stay alone. Just then my phone rang. Sergey. Yes, darling. Yeah, the talk ran long. I'll be there soon. Love you. Sergey? Andrew asked. Yes. He's here too, at the conference. We came together. He's a good man. I checked him out when I heard about your wedding. Sorry for prying, but I wanted to make sure you'd be okay. I'm more than okay. Really. I'm glad. Truly. Go to him. Don't keep him waiting. I stood up, but Andrew stopped me. Marina, one more thing. I made a will. If something happens to me, everything goes to the kids and to you. The apartment, the country house, the savings. You were my wife for 15 years, the mother of my children. You deserve that. Andrew, don't talk about death. I'm not planning to die. I just want things to be right. And one more thing, he pulled a small box from his pocket. This is for you. I opened it. Inside was a brooch. The very same antique butterfly with emeralds I'd once seen in a jewelry store window and dreamed about for years. You remembered? I bought it back then, wanted to give it to you for our anniversary. But then our problem started, and I never had the courage. I've carried it with me all these years. Silly, I know. I can't accept this. You can. It's not about winning you back or buying forgiveness. That brooch was always yours, even while it sat in my pocket. A butterfly, you've transformed from a cocoon into a beautiful butterfly. Let it remind you of your transformation. Tears welled in my eyes. I took the brooch and pinned it to my dress. Thank you. It suits you. Like it was made for you. Go, Marina. Live happy. I left the bar, leaving him alone with the sunset. In the lobby, Sergey was waiting for me. Everything all right? He asked, noticing my red eyes. Yes, it's just I finally closed that chapter for good. Beautiful brooch, he noted, a gift from the past. A reminder of the road I've traveled. Sergey hugged me without asking questions. One of his best qualities, knowing when to just be there in silence. The next day, the conference went on, but I didn't see Andrew again. Later I learned from the organizers that he'd left early that morning on urgent business. Back in New York, I thought long and hard about our conversation. About the fact that he had known the truth all along. It changed how I saw the past, but not the present. I was happy with Sergey, the kids were happy, life had worked out. Another year passed. Daisy graduated college with honors and landed a job at a major publishing house. She met a young man, Ethan, a talented programmer. A year later, they got married. A modest wedding, just family. Andrew came and gave the newlyweds an apartment. "Dad, that's too much." Daisy protested. "This is what I should have given your mom many years ago. At least you'll have your own place from the very start of your married life." Michael got into MIT to study robotics, his dream. He excelled, and by his sophomore year, he was already invited to intern in Germany. Andrew covered all the expenses. "Thanks, Dad," Michael said. "But why are you spending so much on us lately?" "Because I can, and I want to. You're my kids, my pride. Let your father spoil you." Mason, Tatiana's son, started first grade. Andrew took him on the first day of school and introduced him to our kids officially as their brother. The boy was sweet, a little shy, and looked so much like Andrew as a child. I'd seen the pictures. "Aunt Marina," he asked me, "Dad says you're really smart and kind. Is that true?" "I don't know about smart, but I do try to be kind. Can I come visit sometimes?" Daisy and Michael promised to teach me chess. "Of course you can," and he did. At first with Andrew, later on his own, we lived in nearby neighborhoods now. Sergey welcomed the boy warmly, treating him like a nephew. Mason craved male attention. Tatiana's stepfather was cold and distant. That's how our strange extended family formed. Me and Sergey, our kids with their partners, little Mason, sometimes even Tatiana with her husband and their second child would come over for holidays. Andrew too. He was friendly, though a little reserved. For my 50th birthday, Sergey surprised me. He rented a yacht, invited all our loved ones. We sailed around Manhattan, had dinner, danced. It was magical. Andrew arrived last, carrying a huge bouquet of white roses. "Happy birthday," he said, handing me the flowers. "Thank you. I'm glad you came. I wouldn't miss it. 50's a big milestone." "Don't remind me," I laughed. "I feel 35 at most." "You look 30, he said seriously. "Happiness suits you." All evening he kept his distance, mostly talking with the kids and grandkids. Daisy had a daughter by then. But I caught him watching me a few times. That sad, regretful gaze. Before he left, he came up to me. "Marina, can I have a minute alone?" We stepped out onto the deck. New York sparkled with lights, the music muffled in the background. "I just wanted to say thank you. For everything. For the kids, for the years together, even for that corporate party lesson. You made me better. Too late, maybe, and we're no longer together, but I became better because of you. Andrew, please. That's all in the past. I know. But I wanted you to know, those 15 years with you were the best of my life. Even when it all went wrong, even when I acted like a complete bastard. You were the light in my life. And you still are, even from a distance. You'll have another chance at happiness, maybe. Or maybe my purpose was different. To give life to amazing kids, to be part of your story, even if not the brightest chapter. Not every destiny ends in a happy ending. Sometimes it's just the end of one chapter and the beginning of another." He kissed me on the forehead and left. That night, I didn't see him again. 2 months later, Tatiana called. Her voice was shaky. "Marina, I'm sorry to bother you. Do you know where Andrew is? He was supposed to pick Mason up yesterday, but he never came. He's not answering calls." A knot of worry tightened in my chest. "I don't know. I'll call the kids, maybe they've heard from him." But they hadn't. The last time anyone heard from Andrew was 3 days ago. We grew anxious. Michael went to his place. The door wasn't locked. They found Andrew in his study. Heart attack. The doctor said it was quick, painless. On his desk lay a letter addressed to me. Marina, if you're reading this, it means something happened to me. Don't grieve for me. I lived a good life, despite all my mistakes. I had you, our wonderful children, even little Mason. That's more than most people get. I know you think that corporate party changed your life. But you know what? It changed mine too. Seeing you like that, I realized what I had lost. And even though nothing could be undone, that knowledge made me a better man. I asked just one thing: look after Mason. Tatiana is a good mother, but the boy will need support. You always knew how to love children, whether your own or not. Thank you for everything. For the love you once gave me. For our kids. For the lesson. For letting me remain in your life, at least as a friend and the father of our children. Be happy. You've earned it. Always loving you, Andrew. P.S. In the safe, code, the date of our wedding, you'll find something for the kids. And for you. Take it. Not as an attempt to buy forgiveness, but as gratitude for the years we shared. I cried as I read that letter. Cried for the lost years, the missed chances, the love that once existed but didn't survive. In the safe were documents for the kids' accounts, including Mason. Each had a generous sum set aside for education and starting adult life. And there was an envelope for me. Inside was a photo from our wedding and a note: we were happy. Remember us that way. The funeral was small, only close family. The kids stayed strong, though I saw their tears. Daisy gave a speech remembering her best moments with her dad. Michael just laid a white rose, his father's favorite, on the coffin. Little Mason cried, not fully understanding his father would never return. I hugged him close. Aunt Marina, is Daddy in heaven now? Yes, sweetheart. Can he see us? Of course he can. And he loves you. After the funeral, everyone came back to our house. The kids, the grandkids, Tatiana with her family. We sat, remembered, cried, and laughed. Andrew had been a complicated man, but he was part of our lives, the father of our children. That evening, when everyone left, Sergei wrapped me in his arms. Hard? Yes. No matter what, we spent 15 years together. He was the father of my children. And I think he never managed to forgive himself for it all. Sometimes the hardest thing is forgiving yourself. You know what's strange? That corporate party, where it all started, or ended, depending on how you look at it, it changed both our lives. I found myself, a new life, you. And him? He lost everything, but it seems he found understanding. An understanding of his mistakes. Life is complicated. Sometimes loss leads to gain, and gain leads to loss. My philosopher, I smiled through tears. Another year passed. Life went on. Daisy had her second child, a boy. They named him Andrew, after his grandfather. Michael graduated from college and got a job offer from a major IT company. Mason spent more and more time with us, grew close to Daisy's kids, and started calling me Grandma Marina. One day Tatiana came to see me. Marina, thank you for everything. For welcoming Mason, for your support. There's nothing to thank me for. He's a good boy. You know, Andrew was right. In the letter he left for me too. He wrote that you were an extraordinary woman. That he was a fool for losing you. And that if he could go back in time, he would never have said those words about the corporate party. But then nothing would have changed. I would have stayed that beaten down housewife, and he would have kept cheating. Maybe. Or maybe you would have talked things through and fixed your problems. We'll never know. Life doesn't deal in what ifs. Did you forgive him? Long ago. Back when I left for New York. Anger and resentment are heavy baggage. I didn't want to drag that into my new life. You're strong. I became strong. Whether because of it or in spite of it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is, I became strong. On the 5th anniversary of Andrew's death, we all gathered at the cemetery. The kids, the grandkids, me and Sergey, Tatiana and her family. We stood in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. Then we went to the same restaurant where that corporate party had taken place, the one that changed everything. It was still open, a little updated, but recognizable. "Tell us how it happened, Mom," Daisy asked. "The corporate story. We only know the basics." I told them. Every detail, how their father said I'd embarrass him with the way I looked, how Linda helped me transform, how I showed up pretending to be Marina from Seattle, how Andrew courted me without recognizing me, though now I knew he actually had. "What a story," my son-in-law exclaimed. "Like something out of a movie." "Life is sometimes wilder than any movie," Sergey remarked. "Mom, do you regret it?" Michael asked. "Regret what? That it all turned out this way? Maybe if you hadn't gone to that corporate party? If I hadn't gone, I would have stayed that miserable woman who let herself be humiliated. There would have been no career, no move to New York, no meeting Sergey. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it was hard. But it made me who I am. And I'm grateful to fate for that lesson." "Even for Dad's betrayal?" Daisy asked, surprised. "Even for that. It was the catalyst. Without it, I might have lived my whole life in the shadows, afraid to step out, afraid to be myself." "You're amazing, Mom," Michael said. "Not everyone could do that. Turn humiliation into triumph." "Not triumph, son. A lesson. An opportunity to grow. Triumph is too loud a word. I just learned to live my own life, not the one forced on me." That evening at home I was going through old photos. Me and Andrew, young and in love. Our wedding. Daisy as a newborn. Michael. Family holidays, vacations, ordinary days. Sergey came up behind me and hugged me. Nostalgic? Remembering. You know, if someone had told me 20 years ago that my life would turn out like this, I wouldn't have believed it. Do you regret anything? No. Every moment, good or bad, led me here. And here I'm happy. With you, with the kids, with the grandkids, with my work. It's more than I ever dreamed of. And that Marina, the one standing in front of the mirror with a dress in her hands, what would she say if she saw you now? I thought for a moment. She probably wouldn't believe it. That you can be successful and feminine at the same time. That you can find love after 40. That you can start all over and not just survive, but bloom. You bloomed, Sergey agreed. Like that butterfly on your brooch. I touched the brooch I now wore often. A gift from the past, a reminder of the journey. You know, I think Andrew was right about one thing. Sometimes an ending isn't a tragedy, but the beginning of something new. Our marriage ended, but my new life began. His too, though shorter and sadder. Do you think he was happy? In his own way, probably. He loved the kids, was proud of them. He had a successful career. No, he didn't have family happiness, but he found understanding and acceptance. That counts for something. A few more years passed. I retired, though I kept consulting. Wrote a book on marketing, gave lectures at a university. Sergey cut back on his workload too, and we spent more time together. We traveled, spoiled the grandkids, just enjoyed life. One day a young journalist came to see me. "Marina, I'm writing an article about women who completely changed their lives after 40. Your story has become almost legendary in business circles. Could you give me an interview? And what do you already know? That you were a housewife and later became a top executive. That you went from humiliation to triumph. But the details aren't known." I told her the whole story. About the corporate party, the transformation, the deception that wasn't really deception. About the divorce, the move, the new love. About my ex-husband's death and making peace with the past. Incredible, she said, finishing her notes. This is a ready-made movie script. Life writes better scripts than any playwright. And what advice would you give to women who are in a similar situation now, women who are humiliated, undervalued? Believe in yourself. You are stronger than you think. Smarter than people tell you. More beautiful than what you see in the mirror. Don't let anyone, not even the person closest to you, convince you otherwise. And remember, it's never too late to start a new life. 40, 50, 60. You only get one life, and you need to live it in a way that leaves no regrets about missed opportunities. And if you're scared, everyone's scared. I was terrified to walk into that corporate party in a new image. Terrified to go back to work after years at home. Terrified to move to a new city with my kids. But you know what's scarier? Living your whole life too afraid to take a step. Dying without ever knowing what you're capable of. The interview came out a month later. The response was overwhelming. Letters poured in from all over the country. Women thanked me for the inspiration, shared their own stories, asked for advice. I answered every single one. I even created a small support group for women who had decided to change their lives. We met once a month, shared experiences, and encouraged each other. One of the members, Elena, a 50-year-old woman recently divorced after 30 years of marriage, said at one meeting, "Marina, your story gave me the strength to leave my tyrant of a husband. I thought at 50 my life was over. But it turns out, it's only just beginning." "Life begins the moment we decide to truly live," I replied. On my 60th birthday, the whole big family gathered. Children, grandchildren, there were already 5 of them, friends, colleagues. Even Tatiana came with Mason. Mason was a grown man now, a medical student. "Grandma Marina," he said, handing me a bouquet. "Thank you for everything. For taking me in, for your support. You're like real family to me." "You are family, Mason. Andrew's son is my son too, even if not by blood." That evening, when the guests had gone, Sergey and I stepped out onto the balcony. New York sparkled below, bright, alive, endless. "Happy?" Sergey asked. "Beyond measure. Even despite everything I had to go through. Because of everything you had to go through. Every experience, painful or joyful, made you who you are. And I'm grateful for that. Even for that corporate party? Especially for that corporate party. It became the starting point of a new life. If Andrew hadn't said those words, hadn't humiliated me, I never would have found the strength to change. I wouldn't have met you, wouldn't have become the woman I am. Fate or coincidence? A coincidence that became fate. It doesn't matter. What matters is it brought me to happiness. We stood there, holding each other, 2 people no longer young, who had traveled a long road to one another. Behind us was a home full of children's and grandchildren's laughter. Ahead of us, more years of life together, of travels, of discoveries. I thought of that woman who, many years ago, heard her husband say, "Where do you think you're going? You'll shame me in front of the whole company with that face." Could she have imagined that those cruel words would mark the beginning of an extraordinary journey to her true self? Probably not. But life is wiser than we are. It knows the lessons we need, even if they arrive through pain. Now, looking back, I see, it was all worth it. Every tear, every humiliation, every fear. All of it was just steps on a staircase leading upward. Toward light, toward happiness, toward myself. And you know what? If I could go back and change everything, erase Andrew's words, erase the betrayals, the divorce, the pain, I wouldn't. Because that pain gave birth to a new me. Strong, independent, successful, happy. And for that, I am grateful. To fate, to life, even to Andrew, who without realizing it gave me freedom. The freedom to be myself. And that, perhaps, is the most precious gift a person can ever receive.